Welcome again to Connecting the Dots. I'm Dr. Claud Anderson, your host on the PowerNumps.com YouTube channel. And today I got something that will really bring a lot of humor to you, I'm sure, because it's so stupid and ironic that you're going to have to laugh. Can you believe right now there are a lot of people across America that had the nerve or audacity to call black people in America who've been enslaved and Jim Crow segregated and politically corrected out of existence for 460 years? And now they call them saying, well, you all are not patriotic enough. You're not patriotic. And the worst ones of all is the Southern Confederates, the red states of the South, always question the patriotism of black folk in America. Now, isn't that something that the Southern states that represent the Confederate states who have attacked this country twice? They attacked it in 1861 with the Civil War, and they attacked this country second time in 1960s with the Civil Rights Movement. They are the most non-patriotic people in this country, are the Southern whites, Confederates in the South. And yet they got the nerve, the audacity to be questioned whether or not black folk are patriotic or not. Now, let's take a few looks at history and connect the dots. So in my estimation, black people in America are the most patriotic people in the world, or in particularly in this nation. They're very loyal people around the world, but in this country, they say, well, they're patriot. They're not loyal. They don't display the same kind of patriotism that whites display. And anytime they speak out negatively about this country and they point out things that they don't like about the country, they couldn't be that patriotic. They need to go back home, go back where they came from. And so you hear them saying that about black elected officials and telling them, why don't you go back to where you came from? Go back to Africa, or in sports, because of black some football players won't kneel when they play the national anthem. They say they're not patriotic. Now this is ludicrousy. It not only is insultive to black folk. Black people in America are the most patriotic people in this nation. That the Southern Confederate couldn't make a pimple on them. Let's go back for a second. Nobody's more patriotic than blacks for these reasons. First of all, the first people killed in the American Revolution were black people. When the war started and the Revolutionary War started, it started because the British were fighting the colonists, or opposing independence for the white colonists. And guess what? Black people who were slaves jumped up and went and fought in the front line for the whites to have their independence in this country from England. And guess what? They were the first people killed. First three people killed in the Civil War were black people. Now, and even though they were slaves, they were still fighting for the betterment of whites, for opportunities and freedoms for whites. Later on, during the Revolutionary War, the British attacked the first capital for the United States, which was Philadelphia. And guess what? The capital was saved by 800 black slaves. 800 black slaves went out and fought the British to keep them from burning down Philadelphia. Same thing happened in Washington, D.C., when the British again later on tried to totally destroy Washington, D.C., which was the nation capital, and burn it down. Guess what? Black slaves went out there and defended and stopped the British from burning down Washington, D.C. I mean, you can't get much braver than that and be a slave, either that or you're a fool, whatever you want to call it, but they did it. Now let's go move up to the Civil War. In the Civil War, the white folks said, well, you know, we set you all free, or we died in the Civil War so y'all can be free to set you all free. No whites died to set black folk free in the Civil War. The Civil War was not about freeing slaves. It was a battle, a conflict ideologically and economically between the white North and the white South. Black folk were collateral people. Nobody freed them. They were freed accidentally as a result of a war. They said, well, the Emancipation Proclamation was signed for them. The Emancipation Proclamation did not free one single slave. We've had 5 Emancipation Proclamations in this country since the Revolutionary War. Not one set free one single black person who was a slave. Let's get that through. The second thing, when the Civil War started, they said, well, we set you free during slavery. You did not set black folks slave. And you didn't fight and die for black folk. As a matter of fact, when the Civil War broke out and got after about the first year or so, most whites men did not want to go to war. As a matter of fact, let's be more specific than that. When the Civil War was in heat of the battle, we had about over 200,000 whites who deserted, ran away from battle, deserted and ran away, so they were not going to fight for the country, not going to die for the country. And the only reason the Union was successful in the Civil War, they made up for it by what? Bringing in blacks, ex-slaves. Blacks signed up and went and fought for the United States. Over 277,000 blacks participated in the Civil War and fought and saved this country. Whites didn't save them. Most whites had deserted and run off. They said, well, Dr. Anderson, black folks still should be kneeling when they sing the national anthem. Why should they? I mean, they've already proven their patriotism, but why should they? And let's go back and deal with that. Now, about the national anthem. Now, here's a person that wrote the national anthem. He wrote it why? He wrote the Star Spangled Banner in the heat of a battle. And guess what? And in the stanza, in the national anthem, the third stanza is celebrating slavery. And so why? And the people are singing it. Tell them to sing the third stanza where it's glorifying slavery in this country as being the backbone of this nation, and why is slavery so good for this nation. Whites never sing that third stanza in the American when they sing the national anthem, and I see why those black folk don't want to. They kneel, don't want to stand and cross their heart when you play the national anthem, because it's an insult to them. It's a disgrace for them. So to make a long story short, is Francis Scott Key that wrote it. Francis Scott Key was a slaveholder. He was a slaveholder. And so he owned slaves when he's writing the national anthem. So I don't care how you cut it. There's no more patriotic people than black people. 99% of all the black people in America are the direct descendants of slaves. What that means is that they were 99% of the black folk in America were here before 99% of all other groups ever arrived. Before 99% of all whites, Asians, Arabs, anybody else ever arrived in this country. And being the first human beings on earth, black folk are the first human beings on earth. They were here before even these so-called Native Americans were here. They were here as the first people, the original people, and as Moors. And so nobody's more patriotic towards this country than black folk. That's why black people in America can do something that no other group in this country can do. This is in conclusion. Keep this in mind whenever you hear people like Donald Trump and the rest of them downcast and black folk for not being patriotic, not doing this, not doing that. Do you know that black people are so patriotic that they can profess something and proclaim something that no one else can proclaim? That is, they are the only people in the American society who's fought in every war that this nation has ever experienced, and whose mother country has never fought the United States. No Irish, no British, no English, nobody else can make that statement. This country has fought France, Germany, England, Russia, China, Vietnam, Puerto Ricans, Cuba, you name it, Mexico. We fought almost every country on earth, and any of their people, extractions that are in this country, they cannot claim that claim it be as more patriotic than black folk. Black folk need to stand up in public and say, we are the most patriotic. We're the only people who have supported and been and fought in every battle. Most of these other people just came in the country. They haven't fought in battles for this country. And our people, we're the only country, came from a country who's never gone to war with this nation. You can never get more patriotic than that. And all these points I just made makes black folk in America the most patriotic people. So what they should do when they play the national anthem, they should not only allow black folk to kneel, they should let black folk sit down, and they should fan black folk and serve them iced tea and a milkshake while they're sitting there, because they are the most patriotic people, and nobody loves this country better than black folk. Black folk typify everything that's in the first pages of every civics book and history book. They love this country. They should be recognized, respected, appreciated, and compensated for their patriotism. Now that's connecting the dots on patriotism in this country for blacks and for whites. Thank you and have a good day.